Hey guys, it's Mrs. Pickett again. We are going to continue our multiplication unit, and we are going to talk about two additional strategies that are going to help us multiply. Last time we talked about two different strategies. If you remember those two strategies, will you go ahead and say them? If you said repeated addition and equal groups, give yourself a pat on the back because those were the two we learned in our last video. Now today we're going to talk about two different multiplication strategies. The first one is number lines, and the second is we're going to look for an array, and the array is going to help us find the area. Sorry, I had to fix my my I can statement down there for a second. I had a mistake. So we're looking at for the array to help us find the area, and we can use arrays for multiplication too. So let's just go ahead and get started with number lines as our first strategy today. A number line is hopefully something that you've been seeing and using in math since you were in kindergarten. But number lines can help us see numbers and count numbers. And for our purposes today, we're going to use it to help us with our multiplication. So as you can see, some important pieces you need to know about your number line is that we have arrows on both sides because that means our number line is going to go on and on and on and on and on forever. And then we also always have a 0 at the beginning, and then at the end it kind of just depends on what you're counting to. So in this situation, our number line goes from 0 to 11, and we're counting by twos. So the word problem that we were solving is we have 5 groups of 2. So as you can see, the frog is hopping the number line every 2 because he's counting by twos. So you're hopping on your line by twos, and if you do that 5 hops, so that was hop 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you just look at the number that you ended on, which would be 10. So the product in this number sentence is 10. So here you have a here you have another number line, but this time our number line starts at 0, it ends at 21, and we're counting by 7s. If you look here, you're going to notice there are 3 hops. Our rabbit's hopping 3 times, so I have 3 groups of 7 to equal an answer. So this is hop 1, hop 2, and hop 3 lands me at the number 21. So the product of 3 groups of 7 is 21. Now let me show you how you're going to draw your own. Those were 2 picture examples, but if you were going to draw your own number sentence, let's go ahead and do 8 groups of 2. So the first step is that we need to make our number line. So I'm going to go ahead and make my number line, and it's going to start at 0. Now I have 8 groups, so I have to hop 8 times, and for every hop I'm going to go 2. So I start at 0, and then I'm going to hop to 2. So that's 1, 2. That's 1 hop. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Sorry, I ran out of room there. So you're going to see I have 8 hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I'm hopping by twos 8 times, I'm going to get a product of 16. Let's do another one. Okay, so on this problem, I have 3 groups of 4. So I'm going to hop on my number line 3 times by 4. So let's start with 0. So I'm going to hop 0 to 4. That's 1 hop of 4. 4 to 8 gives me a 2 hops at 4. And 8 to 12 gives me 3 hops at 4. Then you'll see I ended at 12. So my product is 12. But if you still weren't quite sure, you can just go back to your method of repeated addition and you can add all 3 of those 4s up. So you get 4 plus 4 plus 4, which is going to give you 12. The second strategy we're going to talk about today, you will hear me call it an array. You might also hear it called area. And actually, they're exactly the same thing. So whether you hear it called area or an array, you're making the same thing and you're solving a multiplication problem in the exact same way. So let me show you first, before we get started, some real-world examples of an array to kind of get you used to what they look like. So here we have a carton of eggs. And so what you're going to notice is that the eggs are organized in rows and in columns. And this is exactly what an array is. An array is a group of objects that are arranged in rows and columns. I'm going to go ahead and write that down for you. It's a group of objects arranged in rows and columns. Sorry, my handwriting's a little messy. Columns. There we go. And what's important to note on an array is the first number in a multiplication problem for an array is always going to be your columns. I'm sorry, your rows. So the first number is always going to go down, and your second number is going to go across. So going down is your row. So we have 2 eggs down, and how many do we have across? Hopefully you can see 6. So we have 2 groups of 6, and 2 groups of 6 is 12. And the great thing about an array is if you didn't know the answer, you can count your objects, count your circles, count your eggs, whatever you have. So again, here's an example of an array. You're going to see this is a donut box. So in this picture, we have 3 rows. We have 3 rows, you can see, and we have 3 columns. So my number going down is a 3. My number going across is also a 3. So my multiplication problem would be 3 groups of 3. And if you didn't know what 3 groups of 3 was, count your donuts, and you should get a product of 9. Okay, so this picture is a window. You're going to see we have different window panes here. And before I give you the answer on this one, I want you to pause it and see if you can come up with it on your own. So what I'm looking for is how many rows do I have? How many columns do I have? And what would the multiplication number sentence be? So if you said that there were 4 going down, 4 rows, and 2 columns, that would give you a number sentence of 4 groups of 2 for a product of 8. You are correct. Give yourself a high five. If you said 2 groups of 4, if you wrote the problem 2 groups of 4, you probably still got the correct answer of 8. But if you were going to make an array that was 2 groups of 4, it would look a little bit different. It would be a little bit skinnier, or shorter, I should say, and fatter. So this is actually showing 2 groups of 4, where this is showing 4 groups of 2. You get the same answer with either way, but with arrays you have to be really careful because you don't want to make the wrong picture. So now I want to show you how to make your own array when you're solving math problems in class. So if you remember, the very first number we always said is our rows, and it always goes down. And our second number is our columns, it's going to go across. So all you have to do is draw little X's. So I'm going to draw 4 X's down and 3 across. I already have 1, so I have 2, 3. And then you're just going to complete out your box to make sure that it looks correct. That's one way to make an array. You can also make an array using dots. So you can make 4 dots down and 3 dots across. Or you can make squares. Personally, I think that the fastest way to make an array is to do the dots or the X's. But again, it's going to be a personal preference, whatever you choose to make. So this is showing you 3 different ways you can make the same array. And then again, you're just going to count. You're going to count the numbers to see how many you have. So you can count by 3s if you want. 3, 6, 9, 12. You can count by columns, which would be 4, 8, 12. Or you can count each dot individual, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No matter how I solve by counting, I'm going to get a product of 12 anyway. The great thing about an array is if you're not sure you have the right answer, you can always go back and check by counting your dots, your squares, or your X's to make sure that you do in fact have the correct answer. So here I'm going to show you one more quick example of an array, and I'm going to show you the same problem written in a different way. So the first problem is 3 groups of 2. The second one is 2 groups of 3. So if I have 3 groups of 2, my 3 is my first number, so that's going to go down, and my 2 is going to go across. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. On my second problem, my 2 is going to go down, and my 3 is going to go across. So I put 2 down and 3 across. So this is where you can really see the difference in your array and how it's going to look different if you put the wrong number in your columns or in your rows. So remember, it's so very important that you write the first number down, goes down, and your second number goes across. But in this situation, and in most situations when you flip-flop your numbers, you're always going to get the same answer. So with either problem, I'm getting a product of 6. But with an array, like I've said twice now, it is so very important that you make it the correct way because it's going to determine later down the road area and perimeter, which we'll get into kind of around January. So just for now, just make sure that you're putting your rows and your columns in the right spots. I'm going to give you 2 problems to try and solve on your own, and I would like for you to pick one of the methods you learned today, whether it be the number line or it be an array, to solve this problem. So the first one is 3 groups of 5, and the second is 7 groups of 3. So remember, you're going to pick either the number line or you're going to pick an array to solve these 2 problems. And I want you to bring your answers to class and we'll share with everybody. Thanks so much for watching and have a fabulous evening. Your joke for today is, why do bees have sticky hair? See you guys soon.